Good afternoon. We are live in our channels, in YouTube, in Twitter, in LinkedIn, and Facebook. Welcome to this Still-Ahead webinar. I want to spend just a few words about Still-Ahead. Still-Ahead.it is our new portal, which means to be a direct line between our sales network and our customer. So you can ask everything you need about our products there and be in contact with our sales team. Of course, you can find there all our webinar, so you can subscribe to all of them. In future, we will hold in this portal also the virtual events, and you have the opportunity to be updated about our news in our newsletter. But let's start with this webinar. I will remind you that for any question you have a chat where you can ask everything you have in mind, everything interests you about this topic, and I will put all your questions to our speaker today, which is Paolo Pintabona. I welcome him, and today's webinar is about the partnership between KTM and Pittarc. But I will leave the word to Paolo with a first question, and I ask him a brief introduction of Pittarc.
So, hi Flavio, and welcome everyone. Of course, with pleasure. Pittarc is the brand of welding wires produced by SEAT since 1972. A historic company of the Pittini Group, which has about 80 employees working in the welding division, with a turnover of 50 million euro per year and a production of about 30,000 tons of consumables for GMAW and sub-processes. In Gemona del Friuli plant, we produce gas-shielded and submerged arc welding wires, which are the result of a production cycle that is controlled very carefully throughout all its phases, from the steel mill to the finished product. Just to sum up, the production process requires the use of low-carbon wire rods, which are obtained from the billets manufactured in the rolling mills of the group. And as a first step, the wire rod go through a double cleaning process at the beginning of Pittarc production. So at the starting point, the mechanical descaling, and then the chemical pickling by sulfuric acid, and then rinsing. The manufacturing process starts from a 5.5 millimeter wire rods, and it is reduced to an intermediate diameter by the first drawing machine with dry chemical soaps, which help the improving of the cleaning and also the drawing speed. Then an additional reduction is made up to the end diameter by the second drawing machine, using this time the dry, so the wet chemical soaps before the possible copper coating at the end of the production line. The finished coil is then ready for the final packaging phase. Those drums rather than spools. Pittarc products are duly subject to strict checks of chemical, mechanical, and technological properties. They have CE mark and Furthermore, they have got the most important approvals from the main certification bodies, such as the Italian one, Registro Italiano Navale, the American Bureau of Shipping, the Dutch DNV, Bureau Veritas, Lloyd's Register, and the Germans TÜV, Germanischer Lloyd, and Deutsche Bahn. Thanks to what has just been described, we can say that Pittarc has been present on the market as a brand leader for half a century, serving companies from over 50 countries in many different sectors, such as automotive, construction machinery, agricultural sector, processing of metal sheet and pipe, and of course, all the kind of metal work.
Okay, thank you very much about this brief introduction about Pittarc. And you mentioned that you are part of a group, Pittini Group, as a steel group. But I want to know a little bit more about which kind of advantages you have of being part of this group.
Well, it's easy to say that, of course, there are many advantages. First of all, the synergy with the other companies belonging to the Pittini Group help to develop technology and plants of latest generation. And for this reason, we can supply high-quality products that can meet the market demand, also in the most challenging applications. The hot and cold production units of the Pittini Group, the logistic services, and an integrated sales network are also a significant strength, which allow us to operate all over the world against our traditional Italian competitors and against also the biggest international welding houses. The Pittini Group is therefore a fundamental plus for Pittarc's competitiveness because it's a strategic and strong partner at every level, from the organizational, operational, logistical point of view, and of course from also a financial point of view. On the other hand, following the group's strategic approach based on the vertical integration of the wire rod, the production process is constantly controlled in every single manufacturing stage, from the production of the raw material to the realization of the final product. And this modern control system is also guaranteed by the efficient work of the internal laboratories, so Pittarc and SIAT, and by the Pittini Lab. Here, the technical skills of the staff, proper equipment, and the testing instruments, and also the analysis activities carried out independently comply with the regulation UNI and ISO 9001 of 2015. And regarding the mother company, there is also the Accredia certification. That is the most important body in this field. So all of these aspects ensure that the test reports issued by us are accepted at every level and are also valid in the major global markets. Therefore, also from this point of view, the combination of the activities made in different labs and also the work between the different departments involved are made possible just by the intra-group synergies.
So thank you very much about this. I will ask you to go directly on the topic of today's webinar. So let's speak about this collaboration with KTM. I want to know how does it started and how developed over years.
Yes, thanks for the question. So Pittarc and KTM have been cooperating for almost 30 years through the representation of our distributor, Mr. Simon Wolfgang, historical partner of Pittarc, with whom we always work with passion and constant commitment, making Pittarc welding wires well known and appreciated also by other important Austrian companies. Speaking about KTM, the first supply is dated back to 1992, when at that time about 6,000 motorcycles were produced per year. And taking into account that about 0.33 kg of solid wires are used for each welded frame, the first supply was 2 tons over the whole year. After then, KTM has had an exponential growth from the 150 employees who made up the entire workforce in the Austrian plant. It has become a company structure counting on, for the first time, to more than 2,000 employees in 2014, and able to produce in the following years more than 250,000 frames per year. Nowadays, KTM ended 2020 year with a production of more than 280,000 frames, marking a plus 7% compared to the previous year. And their welding division counts 100 of specialized welders constantly working on 3 shifts and able to produce 25 motorcycle models, including the new entry in KTM, so the 1290 Super Duke Double R.
Great. So a long story of collaboration between you two. But in specific, which kind of welding wires you sell to KTM and are using their production?
Well, let's start saying that in the plant area of Upper Austria, there is the welding division of Munderfing, having 28 workstations. Hence, the material that is mostly used is the Pittarc G6, so the SG2 in 250 kg drums as packaging and in 0.8 millimeter as diameter. Pittarc drums are placed in the dedicated spaces inside the robotic station, and the tubes that will shape the frame are fixed on a platform, which automatically turn till 180 degrees, allowing in this way the robotic arm to carry out the automatic welding. Once this phase is done, the manual welds are made by the operators, who in this case use the Pittarc G6 in 18 kilos spools with a diameter 1.0 millimeter to complete the work with the necessary last tack welding. Our material is also very appreciated in the welding process adopted at KTM, and I'm talking about the CMT, called metal transfer, which is the innovative MIG welding method based on a short circuiting transfer process developed by the Austrian Fronius for the first time in 2004. During this kind of process, temperature variation in welds has important effects on material characteristics, because is able to give time to the welded part to cool down before each drop is placed. Moreover, CMT provides control method of material deposition and low terminal input, and is also more efficient than the other MIG-MAG processes when the material is thinner than 10 millimeter, even up to 0.3 millimeter. Welding wire is fed through the system that is controlled by a computer, and this computer can control the feed, the welding speed, and the amps going through the wire, and this allow precise welding with no spatter, and making a final result very clean and smooth.
Okay, so this part about the cold metal transfer is quite interesting, and I know that there are different technologies that are coming on these last years about advanced arc control welding like STT, SSA, but I want to know more about the welding wires and how Pittarc work to ensure a suitable wire for these new processes.
Well, you're right, and as previously pointed out, Pittarc carefully carries out continuous checks on the entire production process in order to guarantee a product in compliance with the new MIG-MAG processes. The methods of testing the welding wires must include very precise checks by the quality control to ensure, for example, an advanced control of the arc during the welding. A whole characteristic set of the wire must be properly detected. And I'm referring to the geometry, and so the diameter, the ovality, helix, and cast must be controlled using the proper instrumentation. One check has to be done for the surface appearance, and in this case, the samples must not show bruising or stains due to oxidation or dark spots due to chemical soaps left over. And concerning the copper-coated GMAW wires, the coating must be uniform and adherent to the surface, with the absence of cracks. And twist test is made as a proper control in this case. Then, as very important, the chemical composition, and so controls are made by means of analysis with a spectrometer, and in case it's needed, to have more details, especially on small diameter wires, specific recording are made for elements such as sulfur and carbon. And at the end, also absolutely important is the check on the mechanical characteristics. So trial is subjected to a tensile test to find its tensile strength. And of course, welding tests are also carried out in Pittarc to verify strength, resilience, and elongation.
Okay, I have a last question, then I will leave to our follower, to the question to our follower, and so leave them more time. I want to ask you, at the end of the day, with so many players in the market, why Pittarc was chosen and for so long, and why still choose?
Well, let me say that Pittarc is absolutely a proper and advantageous choice, since it represents a brand strongly signed by characteristics such as reliability and quality. We are reliable because we have an international reputation, both in terms of completeness of the range of product, and also for the service offered to all the customers. And we are competitive from the quality point of view, and this is demonstrated by the high degree of satisfaction of the entire partner networks of Pittarc. So from the end users to the resellers and to the agents. And they are satisfied because Pittarc wires are manufactured from low impurity and gas content wire rods, and they are able to obtain welding seams with excellent mechanical properties. Beside that, the advantages of this kind of wires are also a perfect arc stability with low overall spatters and an excellent feeding with also with high speeds. Pittarc is also a brand able to guarantee a product in compliance with the high standards that the market requires, since it has a long history behind and also a deep experience always in the same field of work. This is made possible by the vision of the company that realized itself in the offer of quality items that allow the creation of an outstanding final product. And it is implemented by the mission of the company to be a benchmark producer and supplier in the field of welding. KTM, as a leading company in its sector, must be focused on the concept of performance, and their ongoing research for technical improvements has therefore been linked over the years with Pittarc brand. Without any doubt, the best for constancy in quality, technical assistance, and logistical reliability.
Great. So let's leave space to some questions. I will start with this first one, coming from YouTube. If they're asking, is there any particular aspect or shared interest between the two companies which has helped your cooperation to become so strong and long-lasting? Interesting question.
Yes, for sure. Well, we can say that there are for sure some similarities between the history of KTM and the Pittini Group, and also Pittarc in general. That is for sure the ability to grow up and the internationalization, which both have had during their corporate history. Speaking about KTM, it was founded in 1934 as a metal and car workshop in Mattighofen, and 20 years later they have started an industrial production, arriving to the 80s when they were able to win for the first time the World Championship title in the motocross. In 1995, KTM acquires Husaberg brand. Some years later, in 2007, they began a cooperation with the Indian giant Badger. And in 2015, also Husqvarna brand has been acquired. And we cannot forget that from 2001 to 2019, they won all the edition of Paris-Dakar. And speaking about our history, well, we can say that is quite similar, because in 1955, Mr. Andrea Pittini decides to open a drawing mill in Gemona, and in 1971, the wire rod production gets started in Osoto. During the 70s, SEAT joins the group, followed by Pittarc, then Veneta-Reti, then 2 additional melt shops, Potenza and Verona, and abroad with also the acquisition of Covinar and BHTG. Going into details, Pittarc also has had an important development, especially in the recent period, resulting in the increase of the production capacity, about 30% more compared to the past, thanks to the installation of new drawing machine, and also because of that, thanks to the enlargement of the welding wire range that we can supply, that currently include a wide variety of steel grades, from low carbon steels to weather-resistant steel to high-strength steels and low alloy steels with nickel, chromium, moly. So this combination of factors, which is an indication of how much the properties support us and believe in the welding wire division, has allowed Pittarc to enter in new markets, serving important companies such as KTM and also others, and becoming also suppliers for important international works and significant projects all over the world.
Yeah, thanks very much for this historical also overview of the two companies. Very, very interesting. And also to see the similarities between the two. I have another question from YouTube. They're asking if the material supplied is copper or non-copper, and if you can explain the difference between them.
Well, we provide to KTM copper coating welding wires, both in drums and in spools, in the diameters that I have mentioned before, so 0.8 and 1. And we can say that the main difference between the two kinds of wires is only the coating, since from the mechanical and chemical point of view, there are absolutely no differences. The copper free is an eco-friendly version, that means low fumes emission, even if, according to our internal tests, also Pittarc copper-coated wire are pretty similar to copper-free wires as regards the substances released during the welding process in form of fumes rather than dust. Furthermore, concerning the packaging that is supplied to KTM, we can also add that Pittarc drums are absolutely ecological, without limits of disposal, handling, or storage.
Okay, thank you very much. I have a question also. I knew that there is also a new line called Innovarc and treatment, right? Can you explain a little bit more about it? Because I heard about it, but
yes, for sure. This is a new kind of wire that has that we have successful put into the market some years ago, and many customers use this kind of top wire that we give them. Well, it's new, but as I said before, to the other kind of wires, copper-free and standard wire, we are not talking about a new kind of wire, because the chemical and the mechanical properties are absolutely the same. What is different is the surface, because at the end of the production line, we put an extra treatment on the surface that can became the wire absolutely smooth and clean compared to the standard one. So that's why Innovarc has this kind of success on the market.
I can imagine. So I don't see any other questions. So I would like to thank everyone which follow us in this half an hour of technical webinar about Pittarc. I invite everyone to follow Pittarc on all his channel, on LinkedIn, on Instagram, to be updated about the last news, and of course to go to stillahead.it for the news and to be in contact with all our customer. I will thank you very much, Paolo, for this interesting webinar.
Thank you, Flavio. Thank you for the attention.
And so see you to the next appointment with Still Ahead of Pitini Group. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.